that Mayo experience.
26 John Deere Classic, maybe the last John Deere Classic. Who knows? Although it's probably going to still be on the schedule for next year. The year after that, I don't know. Maybe we'll see it, maybe we won't. I doubt the Quad Cities is a large enough area for people to get behind, at least the new administration on the PGA Tour, because they're looking at those big cities. But I still love this tournament. It's nice to get back to something that's not a signature event or a major. We need to have a few of these weeks, hence why if you missed my discussion with Keith on Wednesday's show, The Final Word, we discussed the new schedule with the Championship and Challenger Series. This is... If there was ever a Challenger Series event, this is it. Although, of the 144 players, there are some pretty good names in here this time around. One of the stronger JDC fields we've seen in quite some time. Ben Griffin is in the field. Jordan Spieth is playing for the second time since his win as a teenager back in, I think, 2015, whatever the hell that was. Ages ago when he chipped in on, I want to say the 17th hole from the bunker and then ended up winning in a playoff. Maybe against Ken Duke, maybe not against Ken Duke. Someone of the Ken Duke ilk, I feel like he beat in a playoff that week. My mind is going, and my recall on things that happened at lesser events 11 years ago is now starting to fade. Kids, getting gray hair. I got kids, can't remember what happened in 2015 at the John Deere Classic off the top of my head. You'd think I would come in prepared, but that is what this show is for. It's for the research for the show when I get myself all the way back informed on what happened both last year, previous years, and what we need to do moving forward. If you want the full article, that will come out on Sunday evening in the Mayo Media newsletter. You can sub to that for free down in the description. And as always, the rabbit hole will be powering my research today. Betspertsgolf.com, code Mayo. Get yourself 25% off and do it any way that you want. You can see how I do it. Say, hey, Pat, that's stupid. Load in my model, change everything up, and boom, you have your own rankings to work off of this week. Listen, a 50-1 winner at this tournament is the same as a 50-1 winner at the U.S. Open. Betting don't care the name of the event. We care about trying to hit some winners here. All right? Although the prize pool in DFS is going to be a little bit lower. On the DFS front, I did notice, because now that we're in the finals of the underdog best ball tournaments, I have one team that's doing pretty well. I'm currently, as we're recording this, sitting fourth in the big scramble. I've scored the most points of anyone this week at the Travelers Championship, which is a nice boost because the U.S. Open did not go well for my team of 10. However, I went and looked at next week, and it's me and 3 other guys inside the top 10 who have all 6 players playing. So I want to give a very special shout out to Chris Gotterup for deciding to throw this onto his schedule. This was the first bit of money I ever won on Chris Gotterup, was at this event. I believe it was the year that JT Poston ran away with it. I want to say 2022, 2023. We'll see here in a minute, I suppose. That he ended up beating Bez and Gotterup coming down the stretch. I think Gotterup ended up coming 5th or something like that. Bez ended up tied for second, 3 strokes back. That was a very profitable each way on Chris Gotterup. And, you know, he's been winning a lot on tour recently. I don't know if I'm going to take him this week or not. We'll see as we go through it, coming off a very hot Saturday at the Travelers Championship. But, you know, we'll see. So you got Spieth, Ben Griffin, Keegan's playing, Gotterup, as mentioned, is playing, Jacob Bridgman is playing, Berger, Ricky Fowler, Sung J Im in the field this time around, Double Kim, Mike and Tom playing, Killa Keith Mitchell, who is the underdog best ball savior so far. He's just been lighting it up through 3 events that he's played. Pendrith, Jackson Suber, seeing if he can continue his hot run. Max Homa's playing. Mason Howell is in the field as an amateur. You got Thorbjornsson back, and Jackson Koiven making his first start as a professional at the John Deere Classic. It would have been at the Canadian Open, just like Ben James, but he decided to play in the U.S. Open, retain his amateur status, because that's how he was going to get in, and now he is officially a professional. He can keep that money. He wins this time around. He's been awesome on the PGA Tour so far. He was awesome, obviously. He was like one of the best college players ever, but even as an amateur over the past 18 months or so, he has really showed out on the PGA Tour, so I would not be surprised to see him open at like 20-1, 18-1. People are going to want to bet him, and it's going to overinflate his odds, but distance plus accuracy plus putting sounds pretty good for the John Deere Classic. Not gonna lie to you at all, but that's where we're looking this week. So let's jump into the course, see what we got. As mentioned, 144 players in the field at TPC Deere Run, a par 71, 7,327 yards. That's about average distance on the PGA Tour. Qualified as a parkland, it's a TPC course, 78 bunkers around the property, 3 holes with water in play. That's pretty low. You got some bent grass greens. The stimp is at 11.5, so right around average. Bent grass fairways, bluegrass rough. Smallest size greens at 5,500 square feet. Longer rough, although that seems to change year to year. The last year was 4 inches, which was pretty penal, honestly. You're going to hit driver off some. You're going to hit, irons off some, woods off some. It's a really mixed bag off the tee. Do what you want. It's very easy off the tee. Missing the fairway, not the biggest problem in the world, although hitting the fairway has been incredibly easy. Accuracy is up, strokes gained approach up, greens and regulation super high, and 3-putt avoidance pretty high as well. Par 3s are easy, par 4s are easy, and par 5s about as easy as you're going to find. Number 2 is the easiest hole on the course. It has a almost 5% eagle rate. The other holes until you get to number 17 are the other par 5, number 10, like a 1% eagle rate. It's almost 600 yards, so very few players actually get there in 2. Number 17, though, right around a 3% eagle rate. Those are 3 of the easiest 4 holes on the course. The other really easy hole being number 14, which is a 361-yard par 4. It does have an eagle rate around 1%, but guys, the field birdies it right around 38%, so you got to be making it up there. In terms of difficult holes, number 9 is the toughest on the course. It's a par 4, a shade over 500 yards, only a 9% birdie rate with a 26% bogey rate and 2% bogey or worse. The other one where you can kind of make some big numbers, number 11, not a super hard hole, but over a 2.5% double or worse rate. Ditto with number 15. 15 is the 3rd most difficult hole on the course. It plays slightly over par. It has a 2.6% bogey or worse rate. And then number 18, a hole which you can birdie. 14% birdie rate, but a 4% bogey or worse rate. It is a huge swing hole, so you can really gain some strokes coming down the stretch at Deere Run, with number 17 being that par 5, which you can make eagle on, and then 18, the double bogey or birdie hole, depending on how you want to play it. So there can be switches off the back end of this course. Green regulation percentage at this course over the past 5 years, 71%. That's against the tour average of 66%. And even from the rough, it's above average, 56% from the rough, 51% normally. If you hit the fairway, 81% green and regulation rate at this course. The going for the green percentage is, lower than you would expect from the PGA Tour. Last year, it was up to its highest level ever at 58% on the par 5s. That's below a tour average of the par 5s of right around 60%. The 5-year average for Deere Run is right around 53%. So guys are hitting more driver off the tee. Guys are trying to get to the par 5s a little bit more often. We've seen the driver usage vastly increase over the past 5 years. In 2021, it was at 63.4%. Driver off the tee. That led to an average driving distance at this course of 289.5 yards. Last year, let's go ahead 5 years, and the driver usage was up from 63% to 76% and a driving distance of 298 yards. Hence why guys are going for the green far more often at the course. And the weirdest thing, when you take a look at it, driving accuracy didn't really change. It was 67% in 2021. It was 66% a year ago at this course. When we take a look at the course as a whole, the par 3s, there's 4 of them, the average distance of 193 yards. There's 2 under 190 yards and 2 over 210 yards. Last year, Brian Campbell had 3 bogeys for the week, and 2 of them that came in his first 68 came on par 3s. 3 of the 6 hardest holes are par 3s, and the only 3 holes with a par rate over 67%. The par 5s, as mentioned, 576 yards. 2 of them you can get 2 and 2, and the other one, if you really pipe one out there, you can get it. And as I mentioned before, 3 of the easiest 4 holes on the property. The par 4s, this is where you're going to have to do all your dirty work. The par 4s, there's 11 of them. The average distance from 433 yards. That breaks down to 3 that are under 400 yards. 1 could be drivable a lot of the days, especially for the longer players in the field. There's 5 from 400 to 455 yards, then 3 over 475 yards. Last year, Brian Campbell, 7 par 4 birdies through the first 2 rounds, and only 2 over the weekend. 15 holes have a sub 16% bogey rate. The other 3, as mentioned before, 9, 15, and 18, all of which are par 4s, and all of which have a bogey or worse rate over 20%. And if we jump over to the rabbit hole right now, we can see that we're trying to scan through what's happening on the course. Number 9 is the most difficult hole on the property. So 9, 10, 11, tough to make a birdie there. At least if you go the other way, if you can somehow manage to make a birdie on number 18. And again, it is the second most difficult hole on the course, but you still have a birdie rate right around 13%. 17 is the second easiest, with 1 being pretty easy and 2 being the easiest hole on the course. That if you can find a birdie at 18 and you're playing showdown, then what you'll be looking at is wanting to start guys on the back for a better chance at a birdie streak. Whether or not they accomplish said birdie streak, they're probably still not going to do that. But if you're trying to squeeze out any advantage in showdown, the good players that start on the back 9, either round 1 or round 2, is likely where you want to look if you want them to cobble together an easier path to a birdie streak. If we take a look at the course history from here, if you were like me, you lost with Brian Campbell. He lost to Brian Campbell once or twice in a playoff last season at big odds. Would have been nice, too. Griot had this in the bag, and then all of a sudden, Brian Campbell came and took it away with him. And you can see they actually posted exactly the same numbers throughout the course of each of the rounds: 65, 65, 66, 66, 68, 68, and 67, 67. After those 2 on the leaderboard, you have David Lipsky, Sexy Roy, Kevin Roy. And then in 5th, you have Kuchar, Glover, Max Homa, Kitayama, Carson Young, and Jacob Bridgman. Good result for Matt Kuchar. He's like 3,000 years old at this point. He's gearing up for the senior tour, the Champions Tour at this point. Siwoo Kim, Denny McCarthy, Rico, there's Eckroat, Dunlap. Jackson Koiven played in this event last year and came T11, and that was because of a piss-poor opening round when he was only 1 under. If you're shooting 1 under at Deere Run, you're not having a good day. Followed that up with 64, 68, 67. So he would have been right there outside of a pretty lackluster round 1. Ricky, who's back in the field this time around, was minus 14. He tied for 18th. And then you have Lee Hodges and Sam Stevens, Michael Thorbjornsen, Chris Gotterup. All those guys are back in the field this time around. They all came T21. Lee Hodges playing on a major medical exemption right now. Digging into the stats from last year, you can see how it was done. I'll switch from average to total. Brian Campbell almost lost 4 strokes off the tee. Didn't matter. Won anyway. 5.5 on approach, almost 3 around the green, almost 7 on the green, where you can see that Griot pieced it together in a little bit different fashion, where he was amazing. Ball striking, you can see what's ball striking for Brian Campbell, 1.68 ball striking. You don't see that often, considering everyone else inside the top 10, where you have like Kitayama over 10, Homa over 8, you had Griot at around 6, Kevin Roy around 6. Griot didn't have to chip a ton, but his putting still was pretty lights out. If you're not putting at this course, it is going to be insanely difficult to win. On an average basis, even if we take into consideration guys who missed the cut, we're looking at Ryan Gerard and Tom Kim. Both missed the cut. Gerard not playing this year. Tom Kim is in the field coming off of that excellent U.S. Open. He just lost too many strokes off the tee. Don't think that's been happening for Tom Kim as of late. We'll see. He had a decent run in Canada, then obviously at the U.S. Open. Got him back into the Masters for next year. Yeah, it's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight events where he's gained strokes on approach. The driver, bit wonky, not gonna lie to you. He's been overcoming it. The wide fairways at the U.S. Open helped him significantly. He was able to gain strokes off the tee at Myrtle Beach and Valero. Colonial, Byron Nelson, and Canada lost strokes off the tee, but not so much that it's ridiculous. Like 0.4 per round sounds bad, and it is, because you lose 1.6 over the course of a tournament. He lost over 2 in 2 rounds last year, so maybe he's starting to straighten it out a little bit. The short game has returned. The putter has returned. Tom Kim is a really good look this week when we're going into it, especially the fact that he is
been okay at this course in the past. Lee Hodges, Eckroat, Gim. Gim was the first round leader, fired an opening round 62 at this course a year ago. Obviously didn't win, came 32nd because Doug Gim can't putt. It's a problem for him. Let's see, he lost 1.49 per round. That's good. Nat. Oh my God, was that the worst in the field? No, Damon Heatsatsune, then Doug Gim, then you got Ryan Gerard and JT Poston, former winner of the event, obviously won Memorial, played really well at the U.S. Open, lost 5.2 strokes, one of the best putters in the world. Everyone is immune to the bad putting week, as you can see right there. So ball striking wise, it was probably Kitayama number 1. Someone named Casey Harum was dead last. Don't know who that is. No, it's Rico Hoey. Oh yeah, and he lost 5 strokes putting. Gim was 3rd, lost the 6 strokes putting. Kitayama broke even with the field, lost slightly between chipping and putting, lost just over a stroke, but was 10.5 in the ball striking department. You also had Michael Thorbjornsen, Max Homa. There's Austin Eckroat, Sam Stevens, who will be playing again following his excellent U.S. Open. Then you had Griot. You want someone who can kind of pop up everywhere at this tournament. You even saw Goddard up last year, 4 strokes off the tee. Not a ton on approach, but middled right around chipping and putting. He's going to need to do a bit more than that if he wants to continue to be in contention this year. We go back to the year before that. The Davis Thompson Runaway won by 4 over the Panimal, CT Pan, whatever happened to him, Thorbjornsen, and Luke Clanton, Carson Young, Aaron Rye, Ben Griffin, all right around there. You had Denny McCarthy, Eric Cole, both of whom are playing this week. Ditto for the Todd father and Andrew Novak, both in the field. And then you have Sung J M, who was in there as well, who, based on these stats, you would have thought would have had a better week. 1.9 off the tee, 3.2 on approach, 3.3 around the green, 2.6. Good enough for 12th, not good enough to win. You can see across the board, everyone gained inside the top 5, except for Ben Griffin, who lost marginally off the tee, and putters were flying. A lot of great chipping that week. Davis Thompson, 5.3 strokes gained around the green. CT Pan, 5.5 strokes gained around the green. So that was a big key that week, was gaining strokes just by chipping in. I wouldn't count on that happening over time, but great ball striking will continue to prevail even at this course, although wedge play, as we scroll up a little bit and take a look at the distribution ranges versus what we have seen in the past. Let's go to approach shot distribution. Inside the rabbit hole, once again, betspertsgolf.com. Code Mayo, get yourself that 25% off. Let's see, total. So at this course, from 50 to 125 yards is where you're going to see around a quarter of the shots. And then it's not even including around the green shots. That's from 50 yards and beyond. That's above the 21.3% that you normally see from that range. The total amount of shots from 125 to 150 are well above the PGA Tour average. You're right around 22% versus 17%. And then you have 150 to 175 total, which is right around the same. So that's 20%. It's 19% at TPC Deere Run. So you have 25, you got 22, so we're up to 47. So what is it, 65 to 70% of the shots are coming from inside 175 yards. Guys with wedges who are good. It's not that much different than the cap at the Travelers. It's just now that you have a different class of player playing this event. And honestly, when you take a look at these past champions, be it Brian Campbell, Davis Thompson, Straka, Poston, Glover, Fratelli a bit of an outlier, and then Michael Kim is like the ultimate outlier ever. Michael Kim is back in the field this week. I remember talking to him about this the first time that he was on the show. This was one of the most dominating performances I can ever remember on the PGA Tour. And he was 5 under in the final round. He shot round 1, Michael Kim was 8 under. Round 2, he was 7 under. Round 3, he was 7 under. And it goes on to win by, how many strokes is that? That is 8 strokes. 13.5 strokes game putting. Yeah, that's going to do it for you. And it's not like the ball striking was bad. You gained 6.5 strokes game ball striking too. It's funny you see Molinari up there. Molinari would go on to win the Open Championship, I believe, the week later. I think that's the right year, 2018. Let's check in on Francesco Molinari and what he did in 2018. 2018. Yep, he won the Quicken Loans. 2 weeks later, he comes second at the John Deere. The very next week, heads on over to Carnoustie and ends up winning, beating Tiger, Xander, Kisner, all coming down the stretch, and Rose trying to make a run. He even played well at the PGA Championship that year too, coming in 6th, and he kept that run going into the next year where he was the 54-hole leader at the Masters, where he came T5, but played in the same group as Tony Finau and Tiger Woods and ended up losing. That was on the heels of winning the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Came in from way behind in that fourth. That fourth round must be off the charts good. Yeah, 7.9 strokes gained on the field in the final round. Just clobbered everyone. I think he came back from 4 or 5 to run everyone down. I think it was on 16. Well, it wouldn't have been 16 because he probably would have birdied 16. He made just some ridiculously long putt, and it just set him off for the week. I forgot to mention this on the U.S. Open recap show too, is that the reason that Scotty was not able to get himself into gear, and we saw it the day before, was he didn't chip in. He chipped in the day before, and then he started going nuclear. We saw that in Phoenix earlier this year too, when he ended up chipping in on like 13 or 14. Had he have missed the pin, it would have been in the water behind the hole or somewhere treacherous behind the hole. But it didn't. It went in. Then I think he birdied his next 4 holes or something like that. He's the igniter. He needs that chip in to get going. He chips in so often he gets going. I just thought that was interesting to see that he kept hitting too many greens in regulation in the final round and leaving himself with too many 25-foot putts. The move for him would have been to short side himself, try to chip it in, and then boom, then he would never miss again. It's a Scotty Scheffler special. Yeah, it was 2015 Jordan Spieth. Who did he beat in that playoff? Tom Gillis. Not Ken Duke. Tom Gillis is who he beat. I remember just some like old scrub that ended up in the final group. Great week from Tom Gillis, though. 12.5 strokes tee to green. Jesus. Was anyone even close? No, Justin Thomas, Danny Lee, Tom Gillis, Chris Stroud, Zach John. Like, this should give you, like, who's great with wedges? Justin Thomas, apparently Tom Gillis, Stroud was, Zach Johnson was, obviously Spieth was, Boner Jams was up there too. Guy crushed par 4s 400 to 450 yards. Is the one thing. All these guys played really well at Zurich too back in the day. Brian Harmon, another wedge master. Oh, great teats. Josh Teeter, another guy who lights it up with his wedges. So great wedge play is going to be one of the main things that we're focusing on this week. Before we jump into the field, I want to take a look back at the past few weeks because we haven't seen a lot of these guys recently. So of the players that are playing, let's kind of sort through what's going on with some of the guys lower on the board. The live leaderboard from the Travelers. Again, you're going to get a lot of wedge play in here. Let's see if anyone is in the field next week that should be doing something. If only Matt McCarty could have putted this week. He's lost almost 4 strokes putting. Good Lord, that's terrible. Echevarria is the top player who's playing next week in the field. He is 9 under halfway through the third round, or I guess he's through 17 holes of his third round, but 3.6 strokes on approach. Pretty good. The chipping has been good. The driving and putter has been absolutely god-awful. I had Nico to be first-round leader. Of course, he finished a shot behind Eric Cole as the first-round leader, and on number 15, the drivable par 4, he got there. He was pin high in 1. Where did he leave his chip? Not on the green. I'll tell you that much. Everyone else make an easy birdie at 15 in round 1. He pars it. He finishes a stroke off the lead. I don't hit my 90 to 1, which would have been split to 45 to 1, but I'm not going to hold a grudge against that. Or maybe I will, but setting up to be like, okay, he doesn't usually putt well if we're not on Bermuda. And of course, next week at Deere Run, we're on Bent. So it's probably going to be very similar to this, where he's going to make a ton of birdies and then miss a ton of short par putts at the same time. After him, Eric Cole is the next best player, along with Daniel Berger, who's chipping and hitting his approach play amazingly. So is Eric Cole. A great approach, good around the greens, pretty good on the greens. You can see with Berger, he's losing strokes off the tee. Not as many as Eric Cole, mind you, but he's 4.4 in the minus putting for the week. Maybe Berger can turn it around. I wonder what his splits look like if he is a better putter on Bent versus anything else. Let's see, where are your putting splits, sir? There's Daniel Berger, better on Bermuda than anything. This is technically POA. It's POA/Bent at River Highlands this week. He's awful on POA so far this year. It's only 6 rounds, but he's losing 1.35 strokes per round on the greens. He's only losing almost a half stroke in 11 rounds on Bent, so maybe he can get it back together a little bit. God forbid. I wonder what his opening odds are going to be. He's been playing pretty terribly lately. Let's see. Ryo Hitsatsune is in the field. At least his approach and putting is good. This is kind of what we're looking for here. Obviously, we want someone, green everywhere. Mitchell's playing. Mitchell's ball striking has been off the charts good. The driver and approach play good. He's doing it with the putter as well. Finau's approach play has been pretty good. Keegan's in the field, as I mentioned. It's been all chipping for him this week. That's kind of all he's doing. Ricky, the irons are positive. The around the green is positive. Kind of the same with Tom Hoagie. Positive irons, marginally. Ditto with around the green. He's actually making a few putts. Cannot drive the ball for shit this week, though. Then you have Goddard, who made his substantial run in the third round. I believe he is 7 or 8 under in his third round. So most of his damage is done in that one round. Like we go to round 3. And we take a look at approach. I bet you Goddard will be up there for that. Let's see, where is Goddard? No, he's not. Must be all putting for Goddard. Goddard in round 3. No, there he is. Let's see. He was plus 1.78 putting, 1.28 off the tee, and then, half a stroke on approach, almost a stroke around the green. So very good across the board in round 3. Sometimes looking at the round 4 data when you're at betspertsgolf.com using the rabbit hole. Code Mayo, by the way. Sometimes you can find a few players building some momentum going through into the weekend. And let's see, how's my guy Akshay doing? All right, Akshay's a stroke off the lead. Got him to win, got him to top 5. Probably more with the top 5 right now, trying to chase down Scotty and Scheffler with Can't Lay 2 back. Shane Lowry made a nice little run as well during that round. But Akshay's made 250 feet worth of putts through rounds 1 and round 2 at River Highlands. If he does that again on the weekend, then he probably is going to win, which would mean he would gain somewhere around 13 strokes putting. That's probably not going to happen. So I need him to get his ass into gear with the approach play and the off the tee play so we can start to rival Hovland and Scheffler. Although we've seen Akshay put smoke and mirrors together, and we've seen guys at this course in particular put this all together for 4 rounds. And just Brian Harmon one year, I think, made 48 of 48 putts inside 10 feet. It's kind of like what Akshay's trying to do right now. Hopefully it can work out. I don't think Harmon won that year, though. I think Bubba Watson won the year that he did that. You see Ben Griffin's also in the field. He's losing off the tee and on approach. That's what's happening this week at the Travelers Championship. I don't know how much we want to take away from what happened at the U.S. Open. Obviously, good form is good form. But if we go back to the Canadian Open, where it was really the last time that we saw most of these guys, we can go back to Colonial as well and try to find a few players in the field that maybe either missed the cut or had a terrible putting performance. So let's just go to ball striking, sort down, and try to find some of the better players in the field. So Suber is playing, Yella Miraju is playing, Kevin Yu is playing. Now, Kevin Yu basically chipped himself out of the Canadian Open. That's back-to-back great ball striking years at the Canadian Open for Kevin Yu in the field at Deere Run. So let's take a look at Kevin Yu and see what he's been up to. So if we just go to total, so Canadian Open, very good, was okay at the Charles Schwab. At least he chipped it at the Charles Schwab. Still couldn't make any putts worth of anything there. So the driver is back for him. You can see the approach play is starting to get better. Whether or not that's sustainable, who knows, but at least he popped a little bit. He played better than his T29 finish would have told you, whereas Yella Miraju and Jackson Suber both kind of lit it up off the tee and on approach. Suber, who I had to win that week, cashes top 5. Thanks, Jackson, for showing up. But the putter really did let him down bigly that week. Johnny Kiefer, who's now put together 2 really good weeks in a row because he had a really nice U.S. Open. You can see that the driver was there for him. Approach play a little bit, lost almost 8 strokes putting. And we can see his follow-up at the U.S. Open. Actually, cashed for me in some nice DraftKings tournaments. Ended up coming T39, but again, couldn't chip, couldn't putt. This has been kind of the story of his year. The ball striking is getting back to these elite levels, which we saw earlier on in the year through the first part of the season. The Amex over 2, over 1.5, Phoenix, Farmers. Then he kind of went into a hole a little bit, but then rebounded in Houston. And now he's starting to rebound again. The ball striking has been pretty immaculate each of the past 4 turns for Johnny Kiefer. Will he ever make enough chips or putts to win? No, not at this rate. But and we did see, if you hit it in the fairway, it's an 80% green regulation rate. Maybe you can luck yourself into some. So at least the ball striking is pointing upwards for him at the moment. Hao Tong was crushing it through like 2 rounds at the Canadian Open, and then everything went to shit. Although his ball striking was really, really good. The chairman, William Mao, very good ball striker that week as well, along with Ben Coles. Pendrith is in the field. That was all driving, though. He actually lost strokes on approach. You can see Bridgman. Bridgman's an interesting one. If we go back to the live leaderboard from this week, obviously Bridgman is playing. So we'll see how that's almost how you spell Bridgman, kind of. The approach play has been awful. The putting has been awful. So not great for Jacob Bridgman, although I bet you in round 3 it's been better. Yeah, he gained off the tee, gained on approach, and gained a bunch of strokes putting. So he had a really bad round in there somewhere. But if we just take a look at what he's been up to, obviously he finished top 21 in this tournament a year ago. We'll see how he's done at the John Deere Classic over his career. The John Deere T5, he was T5 a year ago, and then he was cut the year before that. But you can see that the approach play is starting to come back. He had the nice run through the Masters Heritage, then Truist, Cadillac, PGA Championship, red a lot of places. Spiked back up at the Canadian Open. I would have thought that and that was against a weaker field, and now in back-to-back events against stronger fields, it hasn't been going as well. We can see the putter has returned, the irons have started to return a little bit, and now this is back a drop in class. He's been one of the better players on tour so far this year. He's going to be one of the higher-ranked players in the field this week at the John Deere Classic, but it's going to be difficult to figure out what he's going to be doing, which Jacob Bridgman you're going to get. But at good enough odds, I can most definitely see getting behind him in that regard. Zadenhout actually played pretty well. Has a runner-up finish here. Griot did not have the irons going, especially on Sunday at the Canadian Open, but obviously he too had a very good U.S. Open. I believe he's in the field. Yeah, he's got to be in the field at the John Deere. Let's see what he's up to. No, he is not in the field at the John Deere, or at the Travelers Championship, sorry. He will be in the field at the John Deere. So that's what happened at the Canadian Open. If we continue to go back, maybe we'll go to Colonial as well. Take a look at how guys did there. We'll go to Kevin Yu's page. Once again, go down to Colonial because he played in that event. And that was before Memorial. So now we are going back a little bit in time. But again, these guys just have not been playing a ton of golf. So it's been difficult to really grasp what they've been up to. So we go to strokes gained. We can see Russell Henley won. Of course he did. Wasn't on. I bet Russell Henley this week. Bad play. Not very good at all. So you got Eric Cole. But we're trying to find guys that maybe finished a bit down the list. So we'll sort by ball striking. So Nico actually played really well that week too. So Nico's irons have kind of been on fire recently. So that's good news. Michael Brennan had a pretty good finish at the U.S. Open as well. So he's been stringing together a few nice tournaments in a row. Baoshu just, pissed all over himself at the Canadian Open. I know that he was like a hot tip that week. But let's see, at the Canadian Open, he finally lost strokes on approach, couldn't chip to save his life. The putter's been up and down, but overall, his approach play has been very good. The driver's been getting better, even at the Canadian Open. In his 2 rounds, it wasn't bad at all. So, not killing him for that. Could be a good spot to go back to him in that regard. Smotherman's approach play was really good despite coming T42. Gim, classic Gim, just like he did last year. Lost all the strokes in the world putting, gained all the strokes in the world ball striking. McGreevy was good that week. Eric Cole again with the approach play. Ben Griffin's approach play spiked that week too. So did Novak, Sam Stevens. So Stevens we probably should have taken a more of a closer look at. He wasn't even on my radar at the U.S. Open. Maybe he should have been. Thorbjornsen's approach play was really good that week. Rico Hoey's approach play was really bad, but he gained so many strokes off the tee. So as we continue to go down, Keith Mitchell was the best of the best of the best who missed the cut. Neil Shipley, Matthew Pavon, pretty good up there as well in the ball striking department. Ben Coles, the approach play continues to be really good. He showed that again at the U.S. Open, but what are you really going to do with that? Is he going to make enough putts? Yeah, maybe. He did just recently win on the Corn Ferry Tour, so maybe that's a spot you can look at. If we go down lower on the list from the Canadian Open, Dan Brown, the Da Vinci Code, gained a bunch of strokes. I think he was first-round leader. No, maybe he wasn't, if he missed the cut. Anyway, he gained 5.8 strokes on approach in his 2 rounds. That was the best of anyone there. There's Keith Mitchell again, Neil Shipley again. So Neil Shipley's been gaining a bunch of strokes on approach. Chris Kirk isn't in the field of the JDC, but he's been gaining strokes on approach despite missing the cut. Zadenhout gained a bunch, as I mentioned before. Let's see, Matt Wallace is playing in Italy this week, but he will be playing in the John Deere Classic. It looks like he's listed in the field right now. His ball striking was really good despite missing the cut. It was John Perry. John Perry, I believe, was first round leader and then lost 6 strokes putting in day 2, and that was the end of old John Perry. But still, I think it was his only missed cut in ages. He made the cut at the U.S. Open. So he had made every cut this year until the Colonial RBC Canadian Open run. Then he came T11 at the U.S. Open to get it back going. His approach play has just been really good. The putter really dried up for a bit, and the putter just hasn't really been all that good all year long. But he is someone that seems to hit his wedges pretty well, hit his approaches pretty well. That could be back on the radar this week, at least if you're looking for a cut maker at the John Deere Classic. Now that we have all the legwork out of the way, here's the field. You got Chris Goddard, Jacob Bridgman, Eric Cole, Keith Mitchell, and Blades Brown. Blades Brown probably a pretty good look too, because Amex is another course which would have similar shot distribution as John Deere Classic as well. So that's interesting to see. Let's just try to build out something that's pretty easy here. We can even shrink the sample down to just past 3 months to see the recent form. Cole, Goddard, Blades Brown. That's only 8 rounds for Blades Brown. Keith Mitchell, Tom Kim, Ben Griffin. There's Jackson Super, JT Poston, Mac Meisner, Nakajima. Not a name that I would have thought would have popped up here. Let's see what he's been up to. Old Nakajima. All right, how are we doing? The approach play has been pretty good at all these tournaments, like, T13, T28, T20 in 3 of his past 4 starts at Myrtle Beach and Charles Schwab. Did okay, gaining a bunch off the tee. The putter's starting to come around for him. Again, just not a name that would have been on my radar until I saw this. You got Keegs and Bezadenhout starting to come up. I had mentioned Kevin Yu a little bit earlier. It's starting to work out for him a little bit more. There's Yellow Miraju. This could be a really good Ewart course. Let's see where Ewart is played. Obviously, he won his entry to this event by winning Q School last year. Another good Canadian boy. Don Cherry would be proud. Probably. But he has 2 good approach weeks in a row. It's been bad for him outside of that. But the putter's been really good. The around the green's been really good. If he can continue with the upward trend in his iron play, all of a sudden he could be looking pretty good. He had the T11 at Valspar earlier this year, T13 at the COG. He was T44 at the American Express. But as you can see, that the approach play is either there or it isn't. I think that this course more aligns with what he is good at, although he gained a bunch at TPC Toronto, which is nothing at all like this course. But maybe that's a good look for him because we know we can make the putts to keep going. Michael Kim is up there. This is the first non-super big event that Michael Kim has played in some time. Pot Geeter, there's Michael Brennan. What I want to do is go to the average shot proximity. Let's go to scoring approaches. Still my favorite thing to look at. And we'll go to that 100 to 150 range because we saw so many shots coming in from there. So Fabian ? Gomez ? In the field. He's up there in his 4 rounds. Tyler Duncan in his 6 rounds. Let's throw in a minimum of 8 rounds just to fill 2 tournaments worth of play would be nice. Troy Merritt. Hubbard coming off of his heart issue, although he is in the field at Travelers this week. Dunlap can't drive. There's Ben Coles, Tom Kim, Bezadenhout, Finau. There's Luke Clanton, who was second place here either last year or the year before. Bridgman. Again, the Traveler stats have not updated for this week into the system. That will happen following the conclusion of the final round when the newsletter comes out, actually. So sub to the newsletter, and we'll try to build up from there. Bridgman, there's Davis Thompson, who's had some good run here in the past. Chandler Blanchet, he had his run earlier on in the season. Maybe he can get it back going again. Adam Svensson, there's Jackson Suber, Johnny Kiefer, Hitsetsune, there's Griot and Ewart, both pretty good from this area. Take a look in here as well, the 15-foot range from 50 to 100 years. We did see this was over-indexed versus the field. Eric Cole, Baushu, Kevin Roy, Adam Svensson, again, there's Blades Brown. So Blades Brown, very good from this wedge range. So we're going to add Blades Brown. So we'll go try to get an even distribution here and take a look at strokes gained approach. And then we'll try to just smooth it over a little bit as well. So we'll go 50 to 100. And this is all inside 15 feet, by the way. So 100 to 150. Inside 15 feet. And then, we'll throw in 151 to 175. 151 to 175. We'll throw in those 3 ranges, and then we will take a look at par 4 scoring, because we know that you're going to have to score on your par 4s, unless you're, Brian Campbell from last year. Specifically, this 400 to 450 range. Over that time, Blades Brown again. Again, it's only 8 rounds, so very small sample, but he's been the best on par 4s of that range, and from 350 to 400, where 3 par 4s do rest this week, he's 5th in that category as well. He just dominates on par 4s in his past 2 tournaments. And again, another guy who's very good at Amex. So Blades Brown, Tom Kim, Davis Thompson, Goddard, Stephen Fisk are your top 5. Nico pops up again, first-round leader from a year ago. Doug Gim, former winner. Michael Kim, Ben Griffin, Paul Peterson. There's Cooch. Cooch in his 20. I didn't realize Cooch had been playing so often. Jesus, 20 rounds. Was it past 6 months? Past 3 months? 20 rounds in the past 3 months. Wow. Anyway, Pot Geeter. There's Baushu popping up. Keegan Bradley. So a lot of the top names not necessarily tailored for this, although they've probably been playing more difficult courses outside of TPC River Highlands. Where's Michael Brennan on this list? He is 17th on the shorter ones. On the longer ones, he starts getting progressively worse. Brian Campbell, terrible at all of them. Doesn't mean he can't win, apparently. But we'll throw in the key par 4 range, 400 to 450. And then we'll just throw in strokes gained par 4 anyway, just to fill out some of the stuff that we're looking at here. I'm just simply going to take strokes gained off the tee. We could take a look at different off the tee metrics. And we're doing this of the short term. Obviously, Brennan's going to rate out really well in this. Maybe we'll take a look at total driving, the best total drivers in the field. So this is taking both distance and accuracy into consideration. You could do distance from the edge of the fairway. You could do good drive percentage if you want to. The one thing that this is going to eliminate is going to be Jackson Coyven, because his sample will not be high enough to qualify for any of this. Just keep that in mind as we're going through this, because Coyven should be rating out very highly on a lot of these. We'll just check in total driving, and see what that gets us. The best total drivers in the field: Mason Howell, Neil Shipley, Michael Brennan, Doug Gim, Jordan Spieth. So you have three very prodigious drivers of the ball. The first round leader from last year. Jordan Spieth is a former winner here. Then you get Hoey, Mitchell, Suber, Ari Iggs, Johnny Kiefer, Piss, and Cootie. Man, that guy was good at the beginning of the year. Now he sucks. Kevin Yu. There's Griot. Again, Ben Griffin, Keegan Bradley, William Mao is sitting there, Davis Thompson, Jacob Bridgman. Again, Max McGreevy will be popping up in total driving as well. We can take a look at around the green. We can just use general around the green play, general putting, and we'll probably do 2 sets of putting. So we'll take, we'll throw in just regular strokes gained approach. Even though we have those key areas, we will want to over-index AG approach. Athletic greens approach, strokes gained approach, just because that means the most here. And then we'll go around the green. And then we will throw in the past 3 months of putting 3 months. And then we will go to past 2 years worth of putting to get a baseline. If one guy is spiking, riding a hot putter, but putting 2 years. Again, this is all at the rabbit hole, betspertsgolf.com, code Mayo. Get that link down in the description. Do your own research. Figure it out on your own. We will create the model. We create the model around here. I think that's everything we wanted to throw in. I had a mini one made for this week at the Travelers of like just wedges and putting to try to find a first round leader. Nico almost got it there for us. So we'll probably factor in 35 to 40% with the approach play. So we have 4 of them. We'll weight them all at 10%. Make that easy on ourselves. Each of those key wedge range at 10% plus strokes gained approach. Driving, we'll put it 25%. So that'll be total driving. We'll go 10 and 10 for putting. And we're running out of real estate here pretty quickly. We'll go 5, 5, and 5. 5 for around the green, 5 for the key par 4 range, and 5 for par 4s overall. You don't want to get a JBC. You want to get a JDC Mayo show. If you want to bring this up, look under expert reports on the rabbit hole, because that's where I will save it as, and then you can just bring it up and adjust it yourself. We'll save and create the model. Tell us. Blades Brown, number 1. Not a big surprise there. So Blades Brown, Tom Kim, Zach Bauschu, Ben Griffin, and Eric Cole are the top 5. Paul Peterson, the loser I bet in Bermuda. I forget how he even finished in Bermuda. Maybe like Paul Peterson, once you start getting some of these names, maybe you want to bet him. Maybe you want to bet him as first round leader. That might make a little bit more sense. Yeah, he was T52 in Bermuda. Loser. Putts well on these, plays well at alternate events and weak field events. So T52 in Bermuda, T5 in Puerto Rico, T11 at Myrtle Beach. Not much else going on because dude can't putt or drive most of the time anywhere else. Other names on this list: Putnam, Hostler, Silverman, Suber, and Bezadenhout. Then you get into some more of your core names here. You got Gim, Bridgman, Yu, Mitchell, Spieth, Poston, Michael Kim. There's Nakajima at number 19, and then Goddard at 20. Now, you might say that Goddard can just overpower this place, beat up on the par 5s, and you might be right. That might be exactly how it goes, and this is such a step down in class for some of these bigger names, be it Spieth, Poston, hell, even Davis Thompson's been playing in bigger events along with Goddard, along with Ricky, that you just might want to give them an extra boost anyway, that maybe their ranking is not reflective because they're competing against the best players. Most of these other guys are competing at easier courses against weaker fields. Davis Thompson, EVR, another former, no, he was not a former winner. It was Fratelli who was the former winner here. Jimmy Stanger, Yella Miraju, Stephen Fisk, Griot, Cootie, Ben Coles, Sung Jae, there's Johnny Kiefer, can't chip or putt, taking him out of it. Ewart and Haotong back to back here, Mac Meisner, Max McGreevy, there's Shipley, I guess. Yeah, so let's find out who the best guys are outside of Blades Brown. Who else rates out really well in these 3 key proximity ranges? It's Blades Brown, Tom Hoge. If we're hitting all 3 boxes here, you have 2 guys like Hayden Springer or Adam Svensson, or we're good at 2 of the 3. Glover, Peterson, Bauschu and Coles, Vijagas, Damon, Danny Walker, Johnny Kiefer, Kevin Yu. And that's about it. That is who is going to be the best of just in all three. Then you have other guys like Eckroat who are good at one of those ranges, not so much at some of the other ones. The best of just two, you got Trace Crow, Matt Kuchar. Let's see here. Actually, I'm sorting from the bottom up. Let's see. All right, let's take another look at this. Guys that are good at two. I mentioned Tom Kim and Ben Coles already. Zach Blair is good at two of them. Had a nice run at the U.S. Open as well. Toasty's good at two of them. Hank Lebiota, Hammer and Hank. Seamus Power is good at two. Villegas is good at all three. Patton Kazai are good at two. Man, they are stretching for name. That's the one thing that I don't love about this Challenger Tour series, is that you're just going to be backfilling a lot of these guys. I think that's like the easiest pathway for Liv to come back, because they're going to need some of these names so you don't get Fabian Gomez in the field half the time. Like, you don't want to see that for a complete other tour. I mean, maybe because we're betting on it, we do, because you have guys with zero chance to win, but that's where we're at, okay?
And that'll do it on the Pat Mayo Experience for the John Deere Classic. We'll go through the odds, make some bets, probably losing bets at that during the show on Monday with Jeff. We'll have me and Blickle on Tuesday for the DraftKings picks, Keith and I for the final word. Plus, if you missed it, the AFC East Division preview, all the betting odds with myself, Cam Stewart, and Rob Pizzola came out on Thursday. Go check that out on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever it's at. Smash like while you're here. And if you do sub, then you will get the NFC West Division preview with myself, Cam Stewart, and Rob Pizzola coming out on Thursday. We're going to try to bang out each of the divisions every single Thursday, and because it's Cam and Rob, the show is probably the fastest way that you're going to burn 50 minutes this week. Highly recommend that you tune into it. We're going to get started on not full-time football, but at least once a week football for the next 3 weeks, then twice a week, then 3, then we're back as soon as the golf season concludes. All right, thanks for sticking with me. I'm Pat Mayo. I'll see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!